Final. The BC Lions home to the Edmonton Eskimos tomorrow afternoon, 4:30 Eastern here in CBC. A reminder, during our first hour today, Ronnie Lancaster will take his weekly look at the Canadian Football League, today coming from the Dome in Vancouver. As usual, we'll be keeping you up to date today on other happenings. Big University Football Championship taking place here in Toronto, McGill-Redmond, and the powerful University of British Columbia Thunderbirds. First up, though, from the he'll work tomorrow's game, the BC Lions and the Edmonton Eskimos, along with Don Whitman and Scott Oak. In about 20 minutes from now, Ron Lancaster will have his weekly look at the Eskimos tomorrow afternoon here in CBC Television. That begins at 4:30 Eastern. And speaking of the Canadian Football League, up next, we're going to take you out to the Dome in Vancouver. Ron Lancaster is standing by with his weekly look at the CFL. So stay with us as Sports Weekend continues.
The CFL on CBC. In July, Jim Sandusky's punt return sparked BC to an 8-point victory over Edmonton. In the return match November 1st, Sandusky's last-second TD catch capped a wild Lions rally as they edged the Eskimos. Can BC make it 3 in a row? Tomorrow, under the Dome, watch the Western Final on CBC. Ron Lancaster and the CFL. Brought to you by 3M, proud sponsors of the 1988 Olympic Games.
With me is the head coach of the BC Lions, Coach Larry Donovan. Larry, how important was that win in Edmonton to get home field advantage to you?
Well, it was important enough that we're here, and that's a darn important situation. We are trying to keep all of our fans involved in football, and we think that the BC Lion franchise is a good one. We'd like to have all the games played here that we can possibly play here.
Well, I would think so. Now, I hear and I read and things that you've kind of changed the philosophy, so to speak, that you want to run the football more. Could you explain that?
Well, first of all, it's not that we want to run the football more, but we want to put the run back into our football. And when those people can lower their ears and run at Roy every play, that makes it too tough on the offensive line, makes it too tough on him. He's a talented quarterback, and he needs time. And if he gets a little time, then he can do his things.
Well, does he feel better about it? I mean, have you talked to him, and does he enjoy it more? I mean, most quarterbacks like to throw the ball. That's the only reason I was asking.
It's difficult to throw when you're on the ground, and he enjoys very much standing erect and throwing that football. And not only that, he's gotten into this running thing himself a little bit, and he's starting to do some of it.
When you talk the Larry Donovan philosophy, has it changed the BC Lions much, or have you just carried on with things the way they were?
No, you don't change things that are right. I didn't, and I'm not trying, I have no ego trip here. I'm just trying to make sure that the people that I work with, those 4 coaches and myself, can all have our personalities as we did before, and to make sure that the things that we thought we could improve on, we've gone back to the things that we did in camp that we thought were pretty good and that we'd gotten away from.
Okay, when you look back on the Edmonton game, in Edmonton, that more or less was just about a playoff game because you were playing for first place on the line. Now you have another one the same type, it's just a little bit bigger, that's all. But do you do things the same way, or do you have to make some adjustments for them?
Well, to say you do things the same way, we have to play better in our offensive line, and our offensive line knows that. Edmonton's a very, very physical football team. We got to make certain that we get physical right with them.
Okay, as far as physical, I mean, how do you mean physical? What do you mean when you say
I mean that our offensive line's got to punch some holes in there. If we call a running play, we don't want to be stopped before we even get the run started. If we call a pass, we would like to have an opportunity to get the pass off.
When you talk the running game, I assume this would be correct. If you can't run the ball, how much will it hurt your offense?
Well, if you can't run the ball, and the same thing against our defense, if you can't run, you better get ready because here we come.
You can't throw.
That's right.
Well, good luck to you. We'll be right back with head coach Joe Farragelli in a moment. That one, it looked like you had it won and it got away from you. Now you have to come in here to play at the Dome. Does it matter to you playing here?
Oh, yeah. I'd be perfectly honest. I'd like to say no, it doesn't matter, but I'm glad we're still alive and we're going to play, but I would have much preferred to play at home, you know, in our stands, in our field, in our city, and outdoors and the whole bit. Unfortunately, we had to come to the Lions Den, and that's the price you pay for lousing up and losing a ball game.
when you look back on the game and the way you lost it and stuff, and then have to play a semifinal game, were you concerned that maybe your players would look by the Calgary Stampeders?
Actually, there was 2 games before the final. We had to go to Ottawa and play, and I was totally concerned about that one. And I was slightly concerned against Calgary, but my pitch to them was that if you want to play BC, you first have to beat the guys in red. And so I think that kept, in their mind, I'm sure they still thought and really felt bad about losing that game. But I think right now it was, you got to beat Calgary if you want to take another shot at it. And even then, we have to go here to play, and that's difficult.
When they talk about looking forward to a team, do you think it stays on their mind this long? I know it was 2 weeks ago, but do you think it'll still be on their mind that they did lose to them at home and they have something to prove? Do you think that particular game, or is it just this is the final?
Well, I think it's a combination. But, it's like anything in life, when you think about something and it slips away from you and it never really leaves. I'd be perfectly honest, 10 years from now, if I'm still alive and somebody says, this team has to win to get to the final, the BC game will come to my mind. It'll never leave my mind. Never, never, never. And I'm sure that's the same with the ball players. But the most important thing right now is we have to win. If not, we got a wind-up party, and that's the end of the year. So we'll party, I'd like to delay it as long as possible. When
you play the BC Lions now, they seem to be talking more about they want to put the run back in football. Do you approach them a little different as far as defensively goes? Well,
actually, the last time we played them, the week before they played Calgary, and they ran for like 215 yards. And then they came into our place, and they didn't run as well, I guess, as they wanted. But actually, they didn't try to run it. I thought, they kind of got away from what they wanted to do. And then last week, again, they got over 200 yards running the balls against what I think is a pretty good defensive team, Saskatchewan Roughriders, with that front four. And so I got a feeling they're going to try to run the ball on us. And part of the reason you want to run is that I think when they ran against Calgary before our game, they had the ball 40 minutes out of the 60. So I think, they would love to keep the ball away from Matt Dunnigan. And I think that would be a good way of doing it. I only wish that I could run for 200 yards. Yeah. And then it would be an old-fashioned game where we knock heads for 60 minutes. But unfortunately, that's not the makeup of our team. So but we're going to try spring Dunnigan as many times as possible, because I know they're going to pin their ears back, come at us, and Matt's got the green light. The minute they come upfield like that and you see the crease, take it. Because they play a lot of man, and it'll give us an opportunity to run for 20, 30 yards. And hopefully keep them off balance. Well, when the Edmonton BC games always take place, are good football games. Joe, congratulations on a fine season, and hope it continues tomorrow. It should be a good one. Not that fine yet. We got another game yet. Then I'll let you know. Thank you. Okay. Don't forget, CBC, 4:30 Eastern, Edmonton and BC Lions for the Western title.
Ron Lancaster and the CFL. Brought to you by 3M, proud sponsors of the 1988 Olympic Games.
And just a further reminder, we'll be seeing Ron Lancaster, Don Whitman, and Scott Oake tomorrow afternoon at the Western Final. That is a 4:30 Eastern start, a 1:30 start for you people in the Pacific time zone. By late tomorrow, we will know which team, Winnipeg or Toronto, will represent the East in the Grey Cup matchup. Grey Cup week officially begins Wednesday. CBC Sports, of course, the place to be. Will feature many of the activities on Sports Weekend next Saturday. I'll be out there to report from the Dome. And, of course, we have countdown in the game on Sunday. For the telecast Sunday, I'm very happy to be joining Scott Oake, Don Whitman, and Ron Lancaster. All right. Coming up during the next 4
November 29th on CBC, it's Grey Cup Sunday. Countdown captures the festivities and excitement of Grey Cup Week leading to the big game. The CFL celebrates its 75th season. BC, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Toronto look to succeed Hamilton as champion of the CFL. Catch Countdown and the game next Sunday on CBC.
coverage of the Royal Winter Fair, the equestrian competition. We have Esso Cup swimming, a preview of that event. Also, I will be in Vancouver. I'll be reporting from under the dome. We'll take a look at some of the Grey Cup week activities and festivities. And of course, we will preview the game. CBC definitely the place to be 1 week from tomorrow for Grey Cup 87. I'll be in Vancouver to join our broadcast crew of Whitman, Lancaster, and Oak. That about wraps it up for this afternoon. Again, the Canadian horses, a fleet never a factor in the classic race in the breeders.
You are looking live at BC Place in Vancouver. 3 weeks ago, 750 miles to the east in Edmonton, the BC Lions stole first place from the Eskimos on Jim Sandusky's last-second touchdown. The Lions believed even then they would play the Eskimos again this season. They do today. The rematch is the Western Final at BC Place. The road to the Grey Cup continues on CBC Sports.
CBC Sports presents the CFL on CBC.
The Edmonton Eskimos began the season with Jackie Parker as head coach, but illness forced him to retire. Joe Farragelli took over. His offense has broken CFL records, thanks in large part to receiver Brian Kelly, who already owns a prominent place in CFL history. The BC Lions began the season with Don Matthews, but the winningest head coach in Lions history was fired and replaced by Larry Donovan. Donovan's defense is the stingiest in the CFL, led by two Shenley finalists, rush end Greg Stuman and safety Nelson Martin. Today, it's a showdown in the Wild West. Donovan's defense against Farragelli's offense. Under the dome that is BC Place. We welcome our viewers, wherever you may be, to the CFL on CBC, your Grey Cup network, coast to coast.
CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery. The CFL, it's the game around here. Petro-Canada dealers and agents. Our energy is Canada. And by Air Canada, celebrating 50 years of serving Canadians at home and around the world.
We are set to decide a Grey Cup finalist here. The other has just been decided. A few moments ago in Winnipeg, the Argos completed a 19-3 victory over the Bombers in the Eastern Final. Our focus now is the Western Final, and consensus is the Lions and Eskimos are about as evenly matched as their last meeting would indicate. That was a single-point victory with no time left on the clock in favor of BC. The Eskimos know this is their last chance for revenge. Don?
Well, Scott, despite the fact they lost both regular season games to the BC Lions, there is a quiet air of confidence in the camp of the Edmonton Eskimos. If they're successful this afternoon, however, Matt Dunnigan, their quarterback, will have to solve the #1 defensive unit in the league.
Well, I think quarterbacks have always got to solve tough defenses, but the Lions especially. Matt Dunnigan has got to be able to find room up the middle and to escape outside if he's going to be effective against them. Roy DeWalt, on the other hand, here's a guy that has probably played with more composure and at ease. He seems more relaxed than I've ever seen him, and he's even running with a football, and that's probably why Carnage Holloway is now dressed.
Two little men will play big roles in their respective teams' passing attack. Brian Kelly led the league in yardage. He had 13 touchdown catches. Jim Sandusky put it in the end zone 12 times for the BC Lions.
Well, Don, defense is going to decide the outcome of this game. And when you get into the secondary, Nelson Martin patrols the middle about as well as anybody in the league. He's a very, very tough individual. He needs to make big plays. Stanley Blair is definitely going to be tested. You got to go after the rookie in the big games, and this is where he will earn his keep. He's had a good year so far, and in order for the secondary to be effective, you got to get pressure on the quarterback, and that's Stuart Hill and Greg Stuman. That's their strength.
Well, they say that defense wins championships, and the BC Lions feel that will carry them into the Grey Cup game 1 week from today. Let's rejoin Scott.
Well, Don, as we speak, the Argos are in the visitors' locker room at Winnipeg Stadium celebrating their 19-3 victory over the Bombers in the Eastern Final. At halftime and inside the CFL, we'll go to the victorious locker room and hear from the winning head coach, Bob Ogilovich, whose team is in the Grey Cup. We'll also have a feature report on the newest Eskimo hero, Bub Slug. He's a comic strip hero, but popular nonetheless. We'll kick off the Western Final on your Grey Cup network in a moment.
places with EMS, the world's most extensive courier network. The U.S., Europe, and beyond. It's all the same network. It's all the same consistent, proven reliability. Whether you ship inside Canada or out. Priority Post, EMS, Canada's world-class courier.
It is a pleasant late November afternoon on the West Coast with a temperature of 9 degrees, but rain is forecast for later today. Inside the dome, conditions just perfect as referee Jake Ireland and his officiating staff move into position to get this Western Division final underway, with the BC Lions preparing to kick off to the Edmonton Eskimos. Stephan Jones and Henry the Gizmo Williams are back for this opening kickoff. The quarterbacks, DeWald and Dunnigan, stay loose at their respective benches. The ball kicked away, not unexpectedly, from Williams. It goes to Stephan Jones, and he has a good return out to the 47-yard line, where he's brought down by Rob Moretto. A 22-yard return by Stephan Jones.
Well, Matt Dunnigan's thrown 4 touchdowns and had 2 intercepted in the games against the BC Lions, and he's rushed for 96 yards last week. He needs it today. With Skinner and Milson Jones back there, they rushed for about 600 yards each. Excellent set of receivers, all veterans. The offensive line is the key to today's football game.
And as is usually the case under the dome, noise could be a factor. The Eskimos may have some problems calling out signals. The first play from scrimmage as Chris Skinner is dropped for a loss of a couple of yards. Now the Eskimos, in their final practice at home at Commonwealth Stadium, had the loudspeaker system turned up full volume to prepare the players for the conditions they would be competing under the dome.
I think it's great. You got to do things like that. Plus, that noise, for some reason, it helps them have a better practice, let alone a game.
The crowd into this game early. 2nd and 13 for the Eskimos. Dunnigan escapes the initial pressure. There's a penalty flag, and Dunnigan will be into BC territory, what should be a first down, but there was a penalty flag in the backfield. That's usually an indication of holding.
Holding, Edmonton number 62.
You know, Don, that's just what Coach Donovan was telling us the other day at the press conference. They have to keep Dunnigan inside. Don't open those lanes up. He said defense is a team effort. Everybody does their job. Don't let Dunnigan escape.
That negates a first down run by Matt Dunnigan and takes the ball back to the 34-yard line. It will be 2nd and 23.
You know, when that happens to them, they may realize now just what he was talking about and stay in those lanes.
Well, Dunnigan is extremely elusive, and if they don't get him initially, he can duck under, scoot away from that pressure, and turn what should be losses into big games. Dunnigan is being chased. He can't find the receiver. He'll run it again. And he's forced out of bounds by the middle linebacker, John Elmer.
Boy, he got outside with a lot of time, but you got to give the BC Lions secondary great credit, because look how much time he's got to throw. He just got nobody open. Finally, Ballard and them get after him, and he escapes outside from Stewman. But watch right here. Ballard just gives him a little push just as he's taking a block. But excellent defense on a 2nd and 20. You don't mind him running for 6.
Jerry Cowrick, who has never played under the dome, gets set to launch his first kick from the 25-yard line. He gets great height on his kicks. Coach Joe Farragelli said, I'm not as concerned about distance as I am about height, but this is a good kick. It's taken by Crawford at the 25-yard line. Crawford is going to lose yardage as he was dropped downfield by Blake Marshall, the rookie out of Western Ontario who specializes on these punt and kickoff return units. A loss of 5 yards after a 46-yard kick. Let's bring in Scott.
Don, James Bell made the trip to Vancouver with the Eskimos and took his first steps in BC Place and is being carried from here on a stretcher 14 months ago. James, how did it feel to walk into this building?
Excellent. I feel real good. I feel excited, motivated, and ready to go.
You think you're a source of inspiration to the CFL, you have said?
Definitely. With my comeback I've had within the year, the CFL, there's no way that they can have the same inspiration. I know they can make it. They've been here 74 years. I made it in 1, so let's all make it happen for the CFL.
Okay, James, thanks very much. You're looking great.
Thank you very much.
Don?
Yes, indeed. He is looking great, and he has been a source of inspiration to all of us who have followed his remarkable comeback.
Well, it's great to see him. It seems like every time we see him, he looks better. While we see the BC line, we see those receivers, Carinci and Pancras, I think are going to have to work inside. And again, just as we talk about BC, that offensive line's got to do the job for the line.
And the crowd quiet says the BC Lion offense with Ray Krause goes looking for a first down, but James Zachary prevents it, so the BC Lions send out their punting unit. We extend our congratulations to Bob Obilovich and the Toronto Argonauts with their 19-3 win this afternoon over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So the Toronto Argonauts will be here at the Dome 1 week from today. Will they be facing the BC Lions or the Edmonton Eskimos in Grey Cup 87, the 75th anniversary of our national championship? And from coast to coast, you'll see it all on the CBC television network. The punt by Pasaglia bounces back towards the line of scrimmage. A scramble for the football. Donovan on the sidelines indicating that Jamie Terrace has it, and it should be a BC first down. We'll sort it all out for you when we return to BC Place.
Somewhere in this room is a beautiful antique, hidden under layer upon layer of paint. Now, Black & Decker will find it with Heat & Strip, the remarkable paint stripper that works with hot air, not caustic chemicals. Heat & Strip bubbles away years of paint, less work and a lot less mess. It makes all other ways of stripping paint antique. Heat & Strip from Black & Decker.
Want to go to university? University students are getting a degree, a salary, and that important first job, all funded by the Canadian Armed Forces. Want a degree in the future? We're under recruiting in the Yellow Pages. It's your choice, your future.
Some people will buy any old gasoline. Others expect more. So they go the extra mile to Texaco for the clean gasoline and competitively priced products. As well, we give you special bonuses year-round that stretch your dollar even further. Expect more from Texaco.
Well, Larry Donovan, the rookie head coach, was pointing on the sidelines, indicating that Jamie Terrace had recovered it and the BC Lions should have the football. On the other side, Joe Faragelli was protesting just as vehemently that his squad should have the ball, and in fact, the Edmonton Eskimos will have it. The ball at the 46-yard line. It was a scramble for that football, and it may have touched one of the Edmonton punt return people, but at any rate, the Eskimos have the football, and it might have gone off one of them out of bounds before Terrace recovered. Penalty flag on the play. The pass intended for Stephan Jones is incomplete. It looked as though there may have been some early movement by the BC Lions.
Offside. BC for 71.
You know, Don, I think on that punt, what Coach Faragelli's complaining about is he feels if it's their ball, it should have been a no yard. That was his complaint. We'll try to get an official ruling. But these are the guys that got to get after Matt Dunnigan, keep him contained. Glenn Jackson's had another great year. Andre Francis has played Brian Kelly as well as anybody in the league, and I look for him to get right up in his face again and beat him coming off the line.
It will be 1st and 5 after the offside call against Brett Williams. Nelson Jones picks up about 3. Walter Ballard made the stop. This has been the #1 defensive unit in the league, although in Toronto there is growing support for that Argo front 7 as the #1 unit, and indeed they played well today as Toronto beat Winnipeg. A good crowd in attendance at BC Place Stadium for this Western Division final, and of course it will be sold out 1 week from today for the Grey Cup game. And I think tickets will really be hard to come by should the BC Lions be going against the Argos.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't care which one of these clubs get there. They better get ready to play 60 minutes.
Nelson Jones breaks the tackle. He's got a first down. Nelson Jones down to the 31-yard line. The first time they met back on July 18th, early in the ball game, I think on the first offensive series, it was Nelson Jones rambling down the sidelines for a 78-yard touchdown that put the Eskimos in front.
Yeah, very first play of the game. It looked like on that particular play, he got in the flat and just took off downfield. But right now, they got a ball control type offense going. They're being able to get that running game going, and that's what Coach Faragelli and Donovan want to do, and that's unusual for BC.
First and 10 for the Eskimos. They are at the 32 of the BC Lions. 10:02 is the time remaining in this opening quarter. Incomplete. The pass was intended for Rick House. Brian Kelly was going down the sidelines, and he has had some problems this year working against Andre Francis. As you said, the last time they met, he only caught 2 passes.
Well, when you can take Brian Kelly out of that offense, you see, we say get right in his face, because Andre Francis is as fast and as quick as Kelly, and they're going to have that kind of a battle all day.
Even had Kelly been able to get back into play, that pass would not have been legal had it been thrown in his direction, because he has been bumped out of bounds. Donegan throwing, touchdown! Brian Kelly comes right back and snares the throw from Donegan for the major score.
Well, how many times? We've done about 5 or 6 Eskimo ball games this year, and every time we talk about them, you have to take Kelly out of the offense. This time, they rolled Donegan to his right. He gets outside, and Brian Kelly's way to his left, and he goes down, starts to the inside. When he goes back to the flag, nobody has a better move. He splits the seam, he gets wide open, and that's an easy touchdown for the Eskimos.
An amazing individual is Brian Kelly, 9 years in the league, and he spent the offseason this year at running school trying to improve his speed.
Well, that's a guy who wants to play football, Don. There's always time to learn.
The point after by Jerry Cowrick, and with the touchdown by Brian Kelly, with 9:32 remaining in the first quarter, the Eskimos lead 7-0.
This time of year, you have a lot of decisions to make. Who to invite, what food to serve, and what kind of beer to buy. Well, we can solve at least one of your problems with the Miller Combo Pack. 2 of the world's most popular beers in one convenient case, 12 Miller and 12 Miller Lite. So if which beer to buy is on your mind, rest easy and bring out the Miller Combo Pack. You can't do any better than that.
Guess who forgot to play their Lotterio numbers this week? There's no telling when your Lotterio numbers may come up. So don't forget to play every week.
We're talking to Canadians about taking charge of their financial futures because security and independence are important to us all. The life and health insurance industry recognizes that financial success means different things to different people. That's why we offer a wide choice of products, like RRSPs, disability insurance, retirement income funds, annuities, and many other savings and protection plans. To learn more, talk to your life insurance agent.
You know, we talk about the noise in the dome, and when you're playing the Lions, if you want to get that crowd out of the game, hit them with something like this early. An excellent pattern by Brian Kelly. When you roll to one side of the field, you're almost assured of a pattern like that backside if you get the chance to throw it, because it's a long throw.
Donegan got the time to throw, and Kelly was in the clear. Now Bird on the kickoff return, and he runs out of room over in front of that BC Lion bench. They'll spot the ball at the 34-yard line. Chris Johnston forced him out of bounds after a 13-yard run back.
Well, we talk about that Eskimo defense. 18 quarterback sacks for Stuart Hill, but John Mandrich has played well in the last month, seems like for me. The linebackers, an excellent crew with Danny Bass, who's been around forever, it seems like, but he gets it done. And an excellent secondary, and Stanley Blair, the rookie, I still think is going to be the key to it.
First and 10 to Byron Williams. Williams is limited to a gain of about 3 yards by Stanley Blair. Williams was a late season addition to the BC Lions, and he made a big reception in that 33-32 win at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, a gain of 57 yards as the BC Lions put that final minute drive together for the winning touchdown. 2nd and 7. To Jack Carinci, and he is going to be stopped short of a first down.
Normally, Don, we see those type patterns, that screen outside. We normally see it to the wide receiver. This time they throw it to the slot back, Jan Carinci. But Craig Schaefer, we talked about him earlier. He's a crazy man as a linebacker. I mean, he loves the physical contact. He's right on top of it.
Henry Williams drops back. Tom Richards joining him on the punt return unit. Many times the Eskimos will send just Williams back, but now they have the two of them back there as Lou Pasaglia tries to angle it to the sidelines. Picked up there by Williams, and Williams is being chased and dropped for a loss. Rob Moretto was downfield very quickly, and it's rare that you'll see Williams lose yards on a punt return. But BC has had an exceptional year on their special teams. A loss of 7 yards. Scott?
Well, Don, 3 weeks ago in that loss to BC, Henry Gizmo, loved those melon jackets. Williams hurt his ribs. That kept him out of the lineup for a game, but since his return, he's watched his ribs carefully by wearing a flak jacket like this. Says he's not tentative at all and told me before the game that he's ready to quiet this very noisy crowd by breaking a run back for a touchdown.
The pass was intended for Chris Skinner. He was being covered by Kevin Konar. It's an incomplete pass.
Ball was thrown a little bit behind Skinner, and had Konar been intent on the football as he wasn't getting to the receiver, he may have had a shot at it. But when you got a guy man-to-man and it's your job to get there, you better not let him get by you.
7-0. The Eskimos lead with 7:50 remaining in this opening quarter. It is 2nd and 10. Edmonton, they are on their own 21-yard line. Again, the crowd reacts as Dunnigan attempts to bark out the signals. Again, it's incomplete, intended for Rick House. And over on the sidelines, once again, Andre Francis bumping with Brian Kelly.
Well, you know, they're fun to watch because Francis takes it as a personal challenge to take on Brian Kelly. Now, Kelly comes off. This time, instead of coming up on the line of scrimmage, he waits on him, and then he just crowds into the sideline where he has nowhere to go.
Jerry Carrick stands back at his own 6-yard line. Larry Crawford is the lone punt returner back. You know, we talk about Gizmo Williams and his punt returns. Larry Crawford had 3 this year for the BC Lions.
Well, the BC Lions always, as you mentioned earlier, good on special teams. And Larry Crawford, we've seen him run punts back before, so no surprise.
Crawford looking for that wall. And he was just an inch or two from breaking it. Brian Warren was there along with Craig Schaefer to prevent him from going any further than the 50-yard line. A 10-yard run back after a 41-yard kick. Well, the Eskimos haven't had a great deal of success inside the Dome. Their best year, 1986, when they won 2 games.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's tough to play here. The Lions, for some reason, feel they own the Dome, and anybody coming in here has got problems.
Of course, last year, in winning 4 times, 3 in the regular season, and once in the playoffs, the Eskimos completely destroyed the Lions. Incomplete. Over the middle, intended for Carinci. He had to go high for that throw from Roy DeWalt. It will be 2nd and 10. Junior Robinson is back there defending.
Well, they get the Eskimos in a zone. They put 3 receivers to the right, and DeWalt rolls to his left. Pankratz goes underneath. Williams clears it deep, and then Carinci tries to come right into the open area. And you see what happened. If he makes the catch, he's going to take the hit. But Jan Carinci at about 205 pounds, a tough slot back.
Movement at the line of scrimmage. Penalty flag squad. This could be a free one for DeWalt. Intended for Krause. He couldn't hang on. It looked as though James Zachary had moved across that 1-yard separation.
Offside. Edmonton number 92.
And indeed it is James Zachary, guilty of the offside call, a Texas A&M product. 6'2", 245 pounds. That's a solid front 4 the Eskimos put out there with Zachary and John Mandarich at the tackle positions, Stuart Hill and either Dan Kearns or Gary Columbus outside.
Well, right here you can see both of them caught inside as that ball starts to move off the line of scrimmage, and that's a penalty every time.
2nd and 5. DeWalt looking downfield for Pankratz. Dropped his fingertips.
Boy, Pankratz got the step on Howard right away. He tried to come up and bump him, and John jumped outside of it. The ball was thrown to the wrong side, but he almost brought it down anyway.
The second leading receiver this year for the Lions, 61 receptions, 2 touchdowns.
So you can see he had maybe a step and a half on him, and boy, if the ball's to the other side, it's an easy completion.
Tom Richards joins Henry Williams on the punt return unit as Lou Pasaglia gets set to kick. Williams takes it at the 5. And he runs out of room up at the 10-yard line. So that's where the Edmonton Eskimos will be scrimmaging with 5:55 left in the opening quarter.
Perfect day for it. Yep.
Years ago, Air Canada started out with one small plane and one huge country. The obstacles that faced our pioneers were as imposing as the land itself. The country stretched our knowledge, our wings, and our imagination. Today, Air Canada has earned its reputation as a world-class airline. With our partners, we serve more than 150 cities across Canada and around the world. But that hasn't made us complacent. We'll still be reaching for the moon and the stars tomorrow. And we invite all Canadians of vision to join us.
In this shootout under the dome, the man on the right is the more experienced, having previously served as an assistant coach in Edmonton, a head coach in Saskatchewan, a head coach in Montreal, an assistant coach in Winnipeg, and now the head man with Edmonton. For Larry Donovan, this is only his fifth game as a head coach with the B.C. Lions, but he has a perfect record, 4 wins, no losses. Draw play, and not much room inside. The B.C. Lions very tough to run against.
Especially what they were talking about at practice the other day. The B.C. Lions want to keep the Eskimos pinned deep so that Dunnigan can't wheel and deal. When you're down inside that 15-yard line, you want to make sure you're a little conservative. Don't take too many chances. And Brett Williams, Coach Barrigelli talked about him at the press conference the other day. He's made a big difference to them. He's got 4 sacks in the 2 games.
Second down. Dunnigan going deep, looking for Kelly. Incomplete. He had both Nelson Martin and Andre Francis covering him. Dunnigan was fortunate that he was able to get that one away because the Lions were exerting tremendous pressure.
Well, and they kept him contained inside, and that's what you want to do. But what I was laughing about is, you know, you hear about Brian Kelly. We've talked about his no speed, but here he is going deep down the field, and Andre Francis and Nelson Martin are hustling, and they're not staying with him. He was running by him. He was starting to get a step on him.
In any other year, the 3 punt returns for touchdowns by Larry Crawford would equal the old CFL record, but this has been the year of the gizmo. Good high kick by Cowrick, taken by Crawford. He's going to lose some yards here unless he can get back upfield, which he does. He could go all the way. A 37-yard return by Larry Crawford. He was prevented from going all the way by Ron Howard.
Well, he got the height on it, and that's what he wanted. It looks like he's contained, but all of a sudden that little fake allowed him to get outside, and they have it set well. Look at all the orange jerseys. Getting the job done. They forced him to cut back inside, and that allowed him to make the tackle. But that's a big, big play. That gets the crowd back into the ball game now.
Special teams very much a factor for both clubs. And Anthony Parker is inside the 10-yard line. That will be a gain of maybe 4. 3 punt returns for touchdowns this year by that man, Larry Crawford, and he has provided the BC Lions with tremendous field position after that 37-yard run back. It will be 2nd and 6 for the Lions. Some much-needed oxygen at that BC bench for Larry Crawford. Special teams are so important, and it's been in about the last 5 years that teams have really worked on those special units, the punt return unit, the kickoff return unit, but more so in the punting game.
It used to be all you wanted to do is kick the ball down the field, have somebody catch the football. If he gained yards, that's a plus. All they want is don't fumble it. But all of a sudden, it became an offensive weapon. And when you get offensive weapons, it takes practice. And you're right. The time that's put in on special teams now, probably the biggest change in the CFL in 10 years.
Well, you talk about the emphasis and the value of one player to a club. The Edmonton Eskimos, with the gizmo, use him almost exclusively on special teams.
Well, that's all he is. I mean, they list him as a backup wide receiver, but I know in the games we've done, I haven't seen him catch a pass, but I have seen him return some punts for touchdowns, and that's what he is, instant field position.
Dan Kearns is out, Gary Columbus in at that defensive end position. 2nd and 6 for the BC Lions, 3:48 remaining in the opening quarter. Fumbled, recovered by Roy DeWalt. So that will probably mean a field goal attempt by Lou Pasaglia.
I'm not sure that wasn't a pass because of the fact that the play action came this way. But Jan Carinci at the top of the screen goes down and goes back to the corner, and he was all by himself. DeWalt very fortunate to get the ball back.
Roy DeWalt and Conrad Holloway, the 2 BC quarterbacks this afternoon. Unless he has some problems, I think you'll see DeWalt go all the way. I think you'll see this man handle all of the kicking chores, as he has done so successfully, and Lou Pasaglia puts it through as the BC Lions are on the board.
I talked to Lou Pasaglia the other night at that Western dinner where he received the trophy for the scoring leader again, and asked him about a comment he made in the paper that Jerry Carrick would find a little difficulty in kicking inside the dome. And, you know, most people would think, hey, why? It's perfect conditions. So I asked him what he meant. All he meant by it is your technique, your follow-through, everything has to be right because you get no help from the wind. You don't get a 55-yard field goal with the wind. If you kick it 55 yards, you had to do it yourself.
He also made another interesting comment. He said, tell Coach Faragelli that we're going to take the air conditioning in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, he did.
Of course, this year, with the opportunity to defer the choice for the visiting team until the 2nd half, that decision can be extremely important at times playing out of doors. But here, it really doesn't mean it. Stephan Jones from the 20 on the kickoff return. He's got speed, just like the gizmo. But his speed is curtailed up at the 51-yard line by Kevin Dixon, a 30-yard run back after a 54-yard kick. Next Sunday, we'll be back at BC Place Stadium for the 75th Grey Cup game. The Toronto Argonauts against either Edmonton or BC, and it all gets underway on CBC television at 3:30 Eastern Time. Check your local listings for the telecast time in your area. The CBC, your Grey Cup network from coast to coast. Dunnigan's pass is deflected by Kevin Konar. It will be 2nd and 10.
A little bit high. The throw is high, and the reason for it is number 90, Rick Clausen, comes in and gets the hit on Matt Dunnigan. And when that happens, a lot of times you don't get the proper follow-through. You know that hit's coming. A little bit high.
Joe Faragelli made an interesting comment. He said, despite the fact that we lost both games, I don't think I'd change our game plan for either contest. In the last game, 17 of the BC points were scored with the offense on the bench.
That's why he's not worried about it. He thinks his defense can shut him down, and we're going to find out.
Stephan Jones is open. He's got it. He took it away from Keith Gooch.
Stephan Jones he's got the great speed. He's just really learning to be a receiver after being a quarterback all his life. But when you have the speed that he has, he just ran right by Gooch. The ball's in the air, and it looked like Gooch was going to be able to recover because Jones was definitely behind him, but he just couldn't get it out of his hands.
58 yards for number 78, Stephan Jones, and it's 1st and goal for the Edmonton Eskimos at the BC 2. You'll know only once in the last 15 years has the team that finished first in the West been defeated in the championship game. That was in 1984. Milson Jones easily trots into the end zone, and the Edmonton Eskimos, with 1:43 remaining in this opening quarter, move in front 13-3 with the point after still to come.
You know, what we normally see on plays at the goal line is the lead back going into the hole. Watch this. The Esks block down, and they lead Blake Marshall outside, and he makes a great block, and you see how easy Milson Jones goes in. Nothing to it.
I think even you or I could have possibly taken that one into the end zone, but Joe Farragelli was speaking so positively yesterday about the contribution that Blake Marshall has made with his enthusiasm and his blocking skills.
And his hands. They think he's got great hands. I'll tell you one thing, he's a little reckless on those special teams. He does a great job for them.
Jerry Cowrick with the point after, 14-3. The Edmonton Eskimos lead the B.C. Lions. Well, they talked in the Eskimo camp about trying to jump ahead early and silence the anticipated noise from the crowd at the Dome, and I think they've done that.
I know this, anytime a football team comes to play on the road at any stadium, if the crowd can be a factor, in which it should be all the time, you got to get them out of it. That means you jump on the home team, then that makes them sit back and relax. The worst thing that could have happened to the Lions was not converting that great punt return of Crawford. Did you see Bill Stevenson leading and then Marshall outside? Don, you're right. I think we could have made it because no one would have looked for us to have the ball anyway.
Well, one team that excelled at home this season went down to defeat this afternoon the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. This year, losing just once, that to the Edmonton Eskimos at Winnipeg Stadium, beaten 19-3 in the Eastern Division Final. The B.C. Lions with an identical record under the Dome. 8 wins and just 1 loss here. That loss to the Calgary Stampeders. The final game as a head coach for Don Matthews back on October 11th.
You know, Don, we've had the opportunity to watch the Argonauts for about the last month, and that they are a good football club. Don't let anybody tell you anything differently.
Mel Bird on the kickoff return. He tried to get to the outside, but Brian Warren and John Mandarich were having none of that. Scott?
Well, Don, BC Lions starting quarterback Roy DeWalt is back in the game, but look at his left thigh, and you'll notice that it's been taped. He pulled a hamstring a couple of weeks ago against Saskatchewan. Lions didn't play for 2 weeks, so they were hoping DeWalt was fully recovered, but the hamstring has bothered him early in this game.
Well, if it does prove to be a continuing problem, I think we'll see Conrad Holloway enter the ballgame.
Oh, yeah, Coach Donovan said he'll put Holloway in at any time. It's no problem with him.
Good fake by DeWalt. Now he's looking deep. And it is a good 10 to 15 yards away from Byron Williams, the intended target. DeWalt was throwing to the sidelines, and Williams was breaking to the post.
That's just what I was going to say. I don't know whether he was throwing to Byron Williams, who went down and went to the post, or Jan Carinci, who went out to the sideline and maybe was going to turn upfield, but couldn't because the Eskimo was there. But regardless, it wasn't near either one of them.
2nd and 10. The ball is at the 45-yard line. 1:14 remaining in this opening quarter. To be successful, the BC Lions must get a ball game out of Roy DeWalt. He completes the pass to Carinci, or to Pankratz, I should say. A gain of about 8 yards. It will be 2 yards shy of a first down.
Pankratz was a little bit short of the 1st and 10 when he caught the football. But then he caught it and started back, and he gave it up. And now they're only going to be about 6.5, 7 yards. So they're going to have to punt the football. He was short anyway. You know, that's a tough thing, but those receivers have got to get that first down on 2nd and 10.
Lou Pastaglia established a CFL scoring record this season, breaking the old mark of Trevor Kennard's. Good high punt. Williams waits for it, and the BC Lions wait for him.
He had nowhere to go. I mean, the orange jerseys were all around him, regardless whether he tried to run wide or up the middle. There were 4 of them sitting there.
Wayne Durbin and Jamie Terrace were the first 2 downfield, and it was a loss of 3 for the Gizmo after a 38-yard kick. At the 18-yard line, 1st and 10 for the Edmonton Eskimos with 30 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. The Eskimos leading by a score of 14-3. Milton Jones and Brian Kelly with the touchdown.
favorite pattern of the Eskimos. House will go up the seam or to the inside. Kelly will start out and then run a curl, and then they send it back in the flat. But look where Dunnigan's looking right into the curl zone every time. Konar just went back and got underneath it.
First and 10 for the BC Lions. The ball at the 33-yard line. This should be the final play of the opening quarter as the pitch goes to Ray Krause, and he picks up 2 yards. Unless there's a penalty flag, and I don't see one, that should be the end of the opening quarter as time has run out on the scoreboard clock. And there's the gun to signal the end of the opening quarter at BC Place Stadium.
Around here, we got the time of day. Time to stop, time to say hello. Around here, it's always been that way. The finest people that you ever want to know. And the beer around here is OV, my friend. You know our beer around here is OV. Around here, our beer's OV.
Like a silent sentinel, it stands, proudly acknowledging achievements witnessed. Its 75-year legacy etched in silver, its tradition woven into the fabric of Canadian history. It is fitting that internationally acclaimed Canadian artist Ken Danby focus on the Grey Cup in his majestic painting, commissioned to celebrate the 75th anniversary. Expertly reproduced by lithography under the direct supervision of the artist, this limited edition tribute to the 75th Grey Cup is available on a subscription basis only. The price, only $399 plus shipping and handling. To order your subscriber edition Ken Danby print, dial 1-800-387-0620. Major credit cards accepted. Ontario residents include 7% provincial sales tax. Operators are standing by, and if busy, please try again.
Well, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for the fans at BC Place Stadium. Loud and boisterous at various times, and then quieted by the 2 touchdowns, first by Brian Kelly and then Milson Jones. But with the interception by Kevin Konar, they are right back in it.
Second and long. This is where they have to convert. Got a block.
Oh, what a hit as Kevin Dixon is belted by Don Wilson.
Right there's an example. I can remember when we went to do our first game, and Coach Faragelli was talking about Wilson and what he liked. He says, what I like, he's 6'2", and he's about 205 pounds, and he's very, very physical. Well, you get a good look at it.
Very punishing, the hit by Wilson on Kevin Dixon, and that means Lou Pasaglia comes into the ball game again. A league record 52 field goals this season.
You know, Kevin Dixon is 230 pounds, and you saw how easily Wilson dropped him, so he is physical.
And Lou Pasaglia displays just why he led the league in scoring, his second field goal from 33 yards out. And it's 14-6 with 14-17 remaining in this second quarter. The Western Division Final, the winner advancing to the Grey Cup game 1 week from today against the Toronto Argonauts. In case you missed it, Toronto defeating Winnipeg in the Eastern Final today, 19-3. And at halftime, we'll be going to that victorious Toronto Argonaut dressing room. We'll be hearing from Coach Bob Obilovich and some of the players. The Edmonton Eskimos, as one would suspect, leading by a score of 14-6, had the advantage offensively, statistically, in that opening quarter. But those turnovers have played a key role throughout the season for the BC Lions. I think on almost 1/3 of their touchdowns this year, the Lions' offense has been sitting on the bench.
I was just going to say, you know, when you kick 52 field goals, you're not putting the ball into the end zone, and we've seen that twice today.
Nelson Martin brings down Henry Williams out at the 43-yard line. A 14-yard run back after a 46-yard kick. What Ron Lancaster alluded to earlier, it's so important for the BC Lions to stay in their lanes to defend against Donegan. And that is what Larry Donovan has been emphasizing in preparation for this game. Stay in your lanes, and if I have to repeat it again, stay in your lane.
That's just the way he put it, and that's important.
Well, they stayed in their lanes that time, as Chris Skinner is limited to a gain of about 1. Brett Williams, the bottom man in the pileup. Glenn Jackson, the veteran linebacker, this season played extremely well, earning an all-star selection, and deservedly so.
You know, it just keeps going. You know, I don't know. Every time we talk to him, he keeps talking about how he's getting older, but I think he's getting better. I think he should keep playing.
14-6 is the score. Pressure on Donovan, and Glenn Jackson is there.
You know, Don, usually when you stay in your lane, somebody's going to block you, but watch Jackson. Nobody touches him. It's just a race to see if Donegan can get out of the way. He had no chance at all. That's just great defense.
They come at you with so many different defensive schemes, blitzing Glenn Jackson this time as he moved from his outside position into the middle.
Quarterbacks don't like to see that either. Tell that outside linebacker to get outside where he belongs.
Cowick's third down kick as he stands back at the 20-yard line. Good high punt. Crawford has to go back to his own 23. And again, he tries to go wide, and they set up that blocking wall. But getting through to break it up once again is Ron Howard, the man who prevented Crawford from going for a touchdown the last time.
The stars are gonna twinkle and shine. How they'll shine this evening about 8:45. My loving arms.
They say time is what you make it. At Citizen, we prefer making it beautiful.
Around you, around 8:45.
Citizen.
If you only cared about yourself, then I guess you might drink and drive.
It wouldn't be smart, but I guess it'd be your choice. But there's more than you to think about. It's people out there. Maybe little kids. Maybe even a friend.
So if you drive, you don't drink. It just makes sense.
It's not like you need to drink to have a good time. All you need for that are your friends.
Play it smart.
There's a hot two-seater on the road from Toyota. A two-seater that gives you performance. A two-seater that gives you luxury. A two-seater that gives you style. Plus, something else you'd never expect from a two-seater. A truckload of room behind the seats. Toyota Trucks, a whole new way to look at buying a car. Who could ask for anything more?
The BC Lions led the league in quarterback sacks, and that man, number 45, Greg Stuman, was the best with 23. The number one man for the Edmonton Eskimos was Stuart Hill, but as a team, the Eskimos were last in the Canadian Football League. Anthony Parker with a hole and a first down, bursting his way out to the 44-yard line.
You know, if you want to run the football, you have to stay with it. They tried running early. The Eskimos shut them down. But if you're going to be successful running, stay with it. And this is exactly what they do. Right up behind Sinclair on the draw. John Blaine makes his block, and then it's just up to the back to get what he can.
First and 10 from the 44-yard line. The hitch screen to Sandusky. Pancraft trying to block, but there were too many Eskimos defending. Ron Howard makes the tackle. It's amazing when you put Sandusky and Brian Kelly side by side. They're not that big, but they have those great moves and the speed.
The quickness with the speed is the important thing for them. They don't have the 4.2 speed, but they got good speed. So if you get them going the wrong way, then your quickness to get separation, that's the key.
Second and 7, over the middle. First down. down as Anthony Parker, anticipating, I think, a hit, tried to duck under, and he did. They're waving off the pass to Parker, ruling that he didn't have control of the ball when he went down.
Well, I
thought he did.
Yeah, I would disagree with this call. That's the referee overruled, and that's great because you're exactly right. He's coming back. They put three receivers to the right, bring them over, and then bring Parker under, and you're going to run right into number 20. He's going to be waiting for you.
Oh, he had control, no question.
He knew number 20 Wilson's waiting on him. He spun back to the inside. He's smart.
First down at midfield. Ray Krause is hit right at the line of scrimmage.
You know, Don, you were talking about how the Eskimos are last in sacks in the CFL, and one of the reasons for it, it's the style of defense that they play. They play a more normal defense, and what normal I mean is when they blitz, they only bring a linebacker. They rush those big four guys up front. They don't bring halfbacks a lot. They are content to say, okay, we're not going to put the pressure on you as much, but you got to beat us. You have to earn it.
Jamie Terrace replaces Ray Krause. Pass to the sidelines intended for Sandusky, incomplete. Steve Benjamin was over and did a good job defending. So the BC Lions will be forced to kick it away.
And John Pancratz is going to go talk to Roy DeWalt, because I think if they get him into that set again where Sandusky goes down and out, Pancratz again had Howard beat deep, but good coverage. You see that left hand? That left hand comes in there, bats it away.
Henry Williams has had some problems in this game trying to return kicks, as the Lions have done an excellent job of covering. This time Tom Richards will try it, and Williams makes the block for Richards, but then Jamie Terrace, with help from Steve Durbin, brings him down at the 19-yard line, a 10-yard run back after a 47-yard kick. They did some hand-eye tests on members of the Edmonton Eskimos this year, and the man with the quickest reactions was number 25, Tom Richards, possibly explaining why he does so well as a punt returner.
Well, because once he starts to move, if you open the seam at all, he can see it, his eyes see it, and then the feet react. You don't run with your feet alone. You run with the eyes also.
Grey Cup Countdown begins next Sunday at 3:30 on CBC television. Your Grey Cup network coast to coast. Stephan Jones is caught by Keith Gooch. A first down out to the 30-yard line.
I know the BC Lions wanted to force Matt Dunnigan to start deep in his own end and make him throw the ball downfield. And sure enough, the first quarter, we saw Dunnigan throw it down the field a long way with good success. Now he's got him backed off. Now he can go to the hooks underneath.
9:40 remaining in the first half. 14-6. The Eskimos lead the Lions. The ball is at the 30-yard line. First and 10, Edmonton. I think they were trying to go quickly inside to Rick House, but Kevin Konar was one of 4 Eskimo defenders who were in that area.
Yeah, watch him. He's just kind of sitting, and they try to dump it, as you say, to House. There's no doubt about it. If Konar had been able to get both hands up, he'd have had it and been gone.
He's played a solid game so far, and he too was a Western Division All-Star.
Well, he's played well for them in all the years. You know, he's been in this league now 8 years. You know, time flies for these guys, but he does a great job for the Lions.
Just a little too far for Rick House. Good faith by Dunnigan, as he indicated that he was looking to the sidelines and then came over the top to Rick House, but it was just a little too far for the slot back.
Well, you see, Rick again has the step on Crawford. Nelson Martin, who normally would be in the middle coming over to help, he is up taking somebody man-to-man, and that forced Mel Bird to come from the backside a long way.
Larry Crawford, an Iowa State product, signed as a free agent in 1981, set to return this kick by Jerry Cowrick. Well, if he was going to get any yards that time, he had to do it all on his own because there was no wall set up to the right. There was also a penalty flag on the play.
Sit by my side, come as close as the air, share in a memory of grace.
changing.
I never thought I'd be invited here.
Times change. I just wanted to say how proud I am. I read your report. It's amazing. Where did you get the people to help you?
I did it myself, Dad.
Really? How in the world did you do it?
Let's face it, right now you don't care about the long life and durability of MotoMaster batteries. And you don't care about guarantees and warranties of MotoMaster batteries. Right now, all you care about is... MotoMaster from Canadian Tire. Built tough, back tough.
A knee injury kept James Quick Parker out of the BC lineup until 3 weeks ago, but he's out again. Was it a question of conditioning, James? Soon?
No, what he's wanted me to do is just practice and work on it some more and get ready for next week if things turn out right.
You'll say you'll play next week?
Yes.
If the Lions are in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we definitely planned on that.
All right, good luck.
All right.
James Quick Parker, and whether it's early in the morning, an afternoon practice, late in the evening, or at a football game, he always looks as though he stepped out of a fashion magazine.
Boy, sure does.
One of his teammates remarked, I don't think Quick owns a pair of blue jeans. Sideline pattern intended for Byron Williams. He was being covered by Stanley Blair. It will be 2nd and 10 from the 51.
I'll get the speed on the rookie and send them deep, and let's take one shot at it. If we don't hit it, that's okay. We got 2nd down.
He'll be going against Gil the Thrill Fennerty for the Rookie Award in the Shenley balloting. Fennerty will be here for 2 purposes: the Grey Cup game and the Shenley Awards. Blair would also like to be here on a double mission.
I would think so. Better get ready for this one. Everybody test them again.
Carinci, first down.
You see Wilson get up, holler. Now, Wilson thinks Carinci pushed off of him, which he may have. I didn't see it. But that's what he was talking to the official about. He got back inside him into the open area, and that's the one place Wilson can't afford to let him get to.
Well, Jan Carinci is one who would certainly like to be in a Grey Cup game, facing some of his old Argo teammates.
I think you might enjoy that one.
He, of course, was with the Argos when they won a Grey Cup game right here at BC Place Stadium in 1983, defeating the BC Lions. Anthony Parker picked up just 1 yard. The BC Lions have had problems in their last few games getting the ball into the end zone, particularly against the Eskimos.
All you have to do is look at the number of field goals Pasaglia has tried this year. He's hit 52 of them, which you said was a new record. The Eskimos, on the other hand, lead the league with 70 touchdowns, and the Lions have only scored 48. So it's been a problem all year for them, but especially against this club.
7:18 remaining in the half. On 2nd and long, DeWalt can't find his initial receiver. He's about a yard short of a first down. You know what a lot of people forget is that when he played at Texas Arlington, he was initially recruited by a number of teams as a running back.
That's what he was drafted by. I believe it was the Cleveland Browns drafted him as a running back, and that's what they wanted him to play. And the reason he came to Canada is he wanted to be a quarterback. Now, I think they better send out the oxygen because he ran an awful long way. And I tell you, when they're chasing him, that heart pumps twice as hard. This is a great move. He runs a little spinorama, finds a hole inside. And as you said, they're going to be about 2 yards short. I think they ought to go ahead and kick the field goal.
Well, it's interesting how different coaching staffs react to how they want their personnel to perform. Under Don Matthews, there seemed to be a feeling that DeWalt would not run, that he was under instructions to throw the football, take the loss, but do not run. It appears as though Larry Donovan has a bit of a different philosophy because in the last few games, he has been running the ball more than previously.
It's exactly the way it was all for the whole time of DeWalt's career, really. But now, all of a sudden, what Coach Donovan said, Roy, look, you're old enough to take care of yourself. If you want to run with the football, and that's what it's going to take for us to win, then you go ahead and do it.
Well, they spot the ball just outside the 25-yard line. It looked as though DeWalt had stretched inside the 25. It was only about a yard away from a first down, but apparently that was not the case. However, the BC Lions are leaving their offensive unit out there. Joe Faragelli is protesting. He felt that the BC Lions should not be allowed to make a change now, but they have sent out their regular offensive unit.
Okay, excuse me. BC has their big guys in there. This is a short yardage team, so Faragelli countered with his defensive team to stop them, and then the Lions sent the receivers out, but the referee wouldn't allow them to stay. So now they got their jumbo team or their big club in there.
All sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage. Is it a procedure call or offside? Jan Carinci was in the end zone all by himself.
Procedure. BC.
Well, the end result of all that confusion should satisfy Joe Faragelli, because now the BC Lions will be forced to send out the field goal unit.
See, what happens is Edmonton put their big guys in to stop the run, and when the Lions put in their receivers again, now Faragelli, when you take those guys out, it's going to be the secondary. He needs them back in there to cover the receivers, so it's like a chess game. Who can get the last substitution in hockey, I guess. But the referee said that's enough of that. He sent him out of the game.
Well, fortunately for Faragelli, there was that illegal procedure call, because there was nobody within 20 yards of Jan Carinci in the end zone. Bisaglia's field goal attempt is wide, and Junior Robinson lets it roll through the end zone for a single point, a 37-yard single, and just a converted touchdown separates the two Western finalists with 6:06 remaining in the half.
Secret Agent 37 just got his Esso Top Secret Savings Book, and he's determined to solve the mystery of the 6 secret coupons. Every coupon will save him up to $10 on Esso No Trouble gasoline for winter. Or there are Buick Regals to be won. Not to mention Esso gift certificates worth up to $1,000. But no matter how hard he tries, he'll never be able to reveal his hidden prizes. Because only your participating Esso retailer has the top secret pen to do that.
Priority Post, Canada's largest and most competitive courier network, has joined forces with EMS, the world's most extensive courier network. The U.S., Europe, and beyond. It's all the same network. It's all the same consistent, proven reliability. Whether you ship inside Canada or out, Priority Post, EMS, Canada's world-class courier.
Did you know Chevrolet has one of the largest selections of small cars in the entire world? Now another, a newly designed Cavalier Z24, has just arrived at your Chevrolet dealer. However, this one, as you can clearly see, has just left.
Well, at halftime, we'll be having a direct report from the dressing room of the Eastern champion Toronto Argonauts. We'll be hearing from Coach Bob Obilovich and quarterback Gilbert Renfro. Highlights and statistics and a feature on a cartoon character called Buff the Slug from Edmonton. Edmonton leading by a score of 14-6. Milson Jones fumbles the football. Who's got it? BC.
Again, now the Lions have the opportunity to put a touchdown on the board. Milton Jones starts on tackle, bounces to the outside. Coming up to hit him from the outside is Ulmer, number 76, and they have the ball. They can't afford another field goal. They've got to show the Eskimos they can score. You see the ball loose. Great turnover. And why not? Their defense has done it all year.
Well, our reverse angle camera providing us with a good view at that fumble and the recovery by the BC Lions. And, of course, we'll have that reverse angle camera to bring you all the highlights in the Grey Cup game 1 week from today. Gary Columbus prevented Roy DeWalt from finding anybody in the end zone. And this is a continuing story and a continuing problem for the BC Lions.
Well, with the Eskimos, like we didn't mention Columbus as a starter, but they rotate their defensive linemen. And as you can see, he came from the inside all the way around. So they executed a stunt where the end goes down, tackle comes out. But Zachary's the guy that's resting on the sidelines now.
2nd and 16. Incomplete. Byron Williams was being covered by Stanley Blair, but it was, I think, John Pancratz who went up high for that football.
Well, the BC Lions love that pattern. We talked about it earlier. 3 receivers, and watch Carinci. Carenci's the guy that's deep. Williams is going deep. He gets the official. I think that's Jock the Carey. I had breakfast with him this morning. Had a nice talk with him. Try to get some rules explained, and I figure he knows a heck of a lot better than I do.
He's the field judge this afternoon. Many times he has worked as the head referee. Surprisingly, Lou Pasaglia has a better record outside the dome than inside, and this 48-yarder falls short. And the Gizmo tries to stay in bounds, but then is forced out as Ray Krause takes him out of bounds at the 20-yard line. You know, in talking to Pasaglia, he said one of the reasons he probably has a better record outside the dome, which comes as a surprise, is the fact that inside the dome, you attempt more field goals because there are no wind factors. Outside the dome, if you're kicking into a strong wind, you don't try them from as great a distance. And, of course, when you've got the wind with you, your chances of making them are better.
That's right. He's kicking under ideal conditions, and that's what he doesn't like. You know, he says he'd like to get the chance to kick with the wind at his back once in a while.
Do you really believe that?
No.
I think he'd like to stay right here inside the dome. Keith Gooch forcing Stefan Jones out of bounds. Joe Farragelli, in talking about this game, so there's really no mystery. I'm not going to use any emotional speeches, Newt Rockney type of deliveries, or win this one for the Gipper. And he said, nor do I plan having a heart attack so they can say, let's win this one for Farragelli. Chris Skinner, a good run for a gain of about 7 before being stopped by Brett Williams. I said when Roy DeWalt was tackled earlier by Columbus that it's a continuing story and a continuing problem for the Lions. When you look at the turnovers they have created, the punt return by Larry Crawford, they have to come up with more than 7 points.
Well, you know, you only get X number of chances to put points on the board, and every time you waste one and have to take the field goal, it's going to catch up to you. Now, they've been down there, what, 3 or 4 times. It might be closer to 4, and have yet to put it in the end zone from great field position.
3:24 remaining in the half. 2nd down play, and Milson Jones gets out across the 40. He then is driven back, but his forward progress will reward the Eskimos with another 1st down.
The BC Lion defensive line now, I think they'll concentrate on rushing the quarterback, which will maybe open the seams now for guys like Milson Jones, Chris Skinner, Blake Marshall, whoever they happen to have in there at the time. And when you do that, what you're telling them is that if they can run the football and beat us, then they're a better club than we are. We'll let our linebackers make the tackles, but you guys up front concentrate on number 16.
Well, wherever you're looking in this afternoon on the CBC television network, we hope you're enjoying the action from BC Place Stadium and that you'll be with us as well next Sunday for Grey Cup 87. The CBC, your Grey Cup network coast to coast. Brett Williams dumps Dunnigan for a loss back at the 32-yard line. 2:44 is the time remaining in the 1st half under the dome.
Bannerman has an ERA of 3.4 with a 1-0 mark.
Baseball's got stats for everything, Gene.
Yeah, and those guys talk funny with their RBIs, ERA.
Don't forget about them DHs.
Yeah. You know, they probably ought to Miller Lite like this. Hey, JR, give me 2 MLs ASAP.
At least they like Miller Lite.
Sure, light tastes great.
And it tastes less filling than regular beer.
Now, those stats I can appreciate.
Hey, okay.
Miller Lite, now with the BBO, the bottom bottle opener.
Hello?
Mike, what's new?
What's new is the newest Commodore Amiga. Right now, it's printing a company report.
So you're waiting?
No waiting, Andy. Amiga has multitasking. While it's printing, I'm updating a sales analysis.
Oh, routine stuff.
With 3D and with over 4,000 colors, it's perfect for this sales video I'm making.
Desktop video?
Sure. And I can play chess at the same time. Try that on your Tandy, Andy.
The new Commodore Amigas. Only Amiga makes it possible.
No, 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 no. We don't make cameras like they do. We don't make stereo like they do. We don't make vacuum cleaner like they do. Oh, just copiers, just copiers, just copiers, just copiers.
Unlike other copier companies, Mita only makes copiers. After all, we didn't get to be the fastest growing copier company by making microwaves. Mita, all we make are great copiers.
Just copiers.
Dunnigan rolls to his left. It looks like he's going to throw the football, but watch, he has to pull it down, and when he pulls it down, Brett Williams is there to knock him down. That's excellent defense.
Well, the toaster may have been burning on that one, but Larry Donovan was burning over at that BC bench because there was an unsportsmanlike conduct call against the BC Lions, wiping out the quarterback sack, giving Edmonton a first down at the 50-yard line. Here's the reverse with Tom Richards. Quite a collision with John Ulmer coming over from his linebacking position to hit Richards, but he'll have a gain of 8 yards.
What kind of play will give you a headache? They run that reverse backside. We're going to get a good look at it from this. You see Dunnigan coming now. He gives the ball to Richards. Now watch Richards when he comes around the corner. He tries to cut in on Andre Francis and goes up in the air, but watch the collision with John Ulmer. Right there in midair on those helmets hit, you get a lot of ringing.
The ball is at the BC 52 with 2:22 remaining in the half. 2nd and 2 for the Eskimos. Nelson Jones won't get it. Glenn Jackson, who has been solid, the veteran linebacker, coming up to make the tackle.
When it's 2nd down, 3 yards to go, and you're expecting run, and they got the full house backfield, 2 halfbacks and a fullback, Glenn Jackson went for penetration, and that's a good job because now the back has to make a decision. And he made the wrong one because he ran into Jackson.
14-7 the score as Jerry Cowrick prepares to kick it away to Larry Crawford. Crawford showing some respect for the young kicker for the Edmonton Eskimos, standing back at his own 5-yard line. He's taking all sorts of time, angling it back into the middle of the field. It bounces, and Crawford is fortunate to get it back. There are penalty flags. I thought initially that Crawford may have touched that ball as he came up trying to field it.
Well, you know what happens on this, Don? Cowrick had so much time that they didn't rush him, so he just stood there and held the football, and then when the rush came, he kicks it. But that gets your cover team too close to the receiver, and he didn't kick it that far.
Edmonton for 47.
Larry Ruck encroached upon the 5 yards, but when that ball came down, I thought it had touched Crawford.
It probably did. You know, I'll bet it did touch him, but you're inside the 5-yard restraining zone, you're going to get the penalty. So this is one time where the kicker took too long to kick the football.
When he had all that time back there with Tom Richards flanked out wide, I thought he was going to try and angle it towards the sidelines and try and hit Richards going down those sidelines because he would have been eligible.
Oh, yeah, he was eligible. I was watching Richards out here because he's got great speed. You know, he doesn't need much room, and if you can get it to him, he can go a long way.
Byron Williams on the sidelines, and he's brought down by Stanley Blair. 1:45 remaining in the half. Following the game, we will be selecting the Canada Lease MVP. Canada Lease, a Canadian public company providing leadership in the world of high technology and capital equipment leasing. Canada Lease makes your money work better for you. The Lions trying to employ that hurry-up offense. 2nd and 2. The second man through. Anthony Parker gets the first down.
This is where DeWalt can call on the experience now, being a veteran quarterback. Parker's hurt. He'll leave the ball game. This is why Donovan has 4 running backs on the roster. With 1:38 left, DeWalt, the veteran that he is, can use this clock to his advantage, and he desperately needs a touchdown.
Ideally, they want a touchdown, but they would settle for anything before going to the dressing room. Jan Carinci has been the big play man in their passing game this afternoon.
Well, we said when we were talking about him earlier that they needed to get a big game from them because everybody expects Sandusky and Williams to be the big one. Get him right inside. Now, he wants to throw the out to this side, to his left. It's not there. Carinci comes into the hole and makes the catch.
Back to the live action to the sidelines for Byron Williams, incomplete. Stanley Blair has done a good job of defending, and Williams does not react kindly to the push that he took going out of bounds. We said 2 plays back that Anthony Parker appeared to injure that right arm. It appears to be the elbow. At least that's the area that he is attempting to massage.
You know, we talked in the opening. He tried to throw the out on Benjamin to this side. He jumped on it. The very next play, they go to the out on Stanley Blair, and they had room to throw it. But that's the rookie. You got to test him.
2nd and 10. DeWalt looking for Jamie Terrace. He couldn't hang on. And he was open.
Wide open. And he'll be wondering about that one. You don't get him thrown any better. It's stuck between the 2 and the 3. Boy, look at this throw. Right between that 2 and 3. And he sees that linebacker coming and doesn't hang on to that ball. May as well catch it. You're going to get hit anyway.
A product of Western Ontario. Henry Williams out of East Carolina, 5'8", 165 pounds, waiting for the 3rd down punt by Lou Pasaglia. Penalty flags go down. No yards will be charged against Kevin Dixon.
You know, we're talking about Jamie Terrace. If you think back to one game where Edmonton and Winnipeg were playing, and Rob Paven and Marshall were collided, and we said that, you know, that they probably met before. I got a letter from a high school football coach in Guelph that Marshall, Terrace, and Paven all grew up together, played football, sandlot football, and on the same high school team. So I guess they have run into one another somewhere along the line.
Well, if they all played on the same team, they certainly had quite a minor league background, and the fellow who coached them all must have done quite a job to eventually see them all wind up in professional football.
I think you should send me a letter and tell me whether they won the championship, because those are 3 good ones.
1:08 remaining in the half. 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line. Donegan is going deep for Stephan Jones. The touchdown pass. Donegan to Stephan Jones, and what a big play, man. He has been, much to the dismay of Larry Donovan. A 58-yard reception that set up a touchdown in the 1st quarter, an 80-yard touchdown catch here in the 2nd.
You know, the BC Lions wanted to force Donegan to throw the ball downfield. Well, he's shown them that he can do it. You don't throw it any better. Stephan Jones is overshadowed by Brian Kelly as a receiver, by the Gizmo as a kick returner. But I'll tell you what, he can play on most football clubs. He's 2nd in kickoff returns, and he shows you he has the speed. This is no contest. He just went by Gooch like he was standing still.
Well, there is no substitute for speed, as Stephan Jones clearly demonstrated in putting it in the end zone, and Jerry Cowrick adds the point after. There are penalty flags, but I think it will be offside BC. So the conversion will stand. And with that touchdown, it is going to be 21-7 with 59 seconds left in the half.
Outside. BC number 18. Decline. Convert's good.
You know, when you think about this football game and what has happened today.
Hey, Mom, Dad.
How you doing? They have done a great job on long, big plays, the Eskimos. The BC Lions have been down there 4 times, have yet to cross the goal line. And right now, we said the Walt had 1 minute and 38 seconds to score, and look who puts the points on the board. They're making it tough on themselves if you're a Lions fan, but he's got the steps on him, and with the speed, Gooch doesn't have a chance.
Well, we said just a few plays back that the BC Lions ideally wanted to end the half with a touchdown of their own, but they would have been content to at least put something on the board. Look what happens. The Edmonton Eskimos get the touchdown, the 80-yard strike from Matt Donegan to Stephan Jones. And I hearken back to Joe Faragelli's comments. He said, when you look back in the 2 regular season games, we would not have changed a thing in the way we played the BC Lions. We had a good offensive scheme. It was turnovers and giveaways that hurt us. Mal Bird is stopped at the 41-yard line. 17 of those 33 points in that game that decided first place in the final meeting between these two were scored while the BC offense was on the bench.
Well, that's what you're talking about. Coach Faragelli said the reason he wouldn't change it, he said, we have a great plan defensively. He said, we know the BC Lions and what they like to do offensively. We feel we can force them to beat us and earn it. Then we're not going to give them anything easy. And that's what he's done so far today. He doesn't want to give them any cheap ones.
John Pancratz was unable to hang on as Dan Bass was back defending. The Toronto Argonauts, in case you missed it earlier today, defeated Winnipeg 19-3 to win the Eastern title. They'll be here for the Grey Cup game next Sunday. And at halftime, we'll go to that victorious Toronto dressing room and hear from head coach Bob Obilovich and the quarterbacking star of the Argos, Gilbert Renfro. So stay with us at the break. We're 51 seconds away with Edmonton in front 21-7. Stuart Hill, the leader of that Edmonton sack attack, drops Roy DeVault back at the 35-yard line.
Stuart Hill was one-on-one with the offensive tackle John Blaine, and Blaine just didn't block him. We said in the opening that when the defense wins football games for you, you got to get the sackers involved, and he's been their leader all year.
Well, in that July 18th game, BC won by a score of 26-18. It looked as though Edmonton had the Lions right where they wanted them in the final 4 minutes, but Roy DeWalt put together a drive starting at his own 1-yard line that led to a touchdown.
That was a great drive. You know, I think in that game, he was our MVP for that football game, mainly because of that drive. He marched them down the field when he had to do it and came up with the touchdown to win the football game.
Well, we talked about the Eskimos wanting to get the crowd out of this ball game. It's almost like a morgue in here right now.
Yeah, they got him out of the ball game. I don't think they're going to get him back until the third quarter either, because with only 37 seconds left, they better hang on and not let him hit another bomb.
Joe Faragelli protesting that some time went off that clock. The Edmonton Eskimos have called a timeout. Next Sunday, Grey Cup 87 comes your way on the CBC television network from the West Coast. It all begins with countdown beginning at 3:30 Eastern time, and then the game itself. The Toronto Argonauts against either the BC Lions or the Edmonton Eskimos. And at the moment, the Edmonton Eskimos definitely have the upper hand in this Western Division final. Good kick by Pasaglia. Williams back at his own 25. He gets outside of Paul Nastasiuk, but can't escape the clutches of Todd Wiseman, and he is stopped at the 33. 25 seconds remaining. A good 49-yard kick and a 13-yard run back.
Well, 25 seconds left. I think the Eskimos will be happy now. I don't think they'll take too many chances. Set them 4 big guys up front and just tell them don't let anything through there, and then just get down and cover. You know, Don, I think we should congratulate the McGill Redmen.
Yes, indeed. They scored the big upset in collegiate football, winning yesterday's Vanier Cup by defeating the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds.
I don't think anybody was expecting it to be that type. I know I wasn't.
UBC was something like a 14 or 20-point favorite, depending on who you talk to prior to the game, and they were slaughtered by the McGill Redmen.
That's why they play the game. The favorite team always won. Why play, you know? You get a bunch of young guys together to think they can win, they got a shot at it, and then they went out and proved it. But they did a good job and a good year for them.
Well, one favored team has already gone down to defeat this afternoon, and another is in big trouble. The BC Lions, with those final seconds ticking off the clock to end the first half, trailing by 14. 21-7 is the score. And Joe Faragelli will be in a happy frame of mind, I would think, as he heads to the dressing room here at halftime. Just 5 seconds remaining. And his team has done exactly what he hoped they would be able to do offensively under the direction of that man, Matthew Dunnigan.
You know, I think everybody was expecting Dunnigan to run a little bit, throw the short passes and do all that. But what he has done is he just stepped back and said, if you're going to get up close to the line of scrimmage and you think you can cover us one-on-one, well, you go ahead and try it. Because he said, if you bother Stephen Jones will run by you and Kelly will turn you inside out. So you're exactly right. He's done exactly what he wanted to do.
5 seconds remaining. Dunnigan felt he should have stayed in there to run off those final 5 seconds. But Joe Faragelli has opted to send out the punting team. I think if he had left the offensive unit out there, the BC Lions would have called time. and then they would have had a problem.
They did call time, Don, and what he was afraid of is they wouldn't kill 5 seconds to give one more play, which would be a field goal.
Larry Crawford takes it at the 45. He gets a hold on the sideline. Good tackle by Milson Jones to prevent him from going all the way. And that fine effort by Larry Crawford will go for naught, as that is the final play of the first half, with the Eskimos in front by 14.
You've only one thing to lose by driving the exhilarating Suzuki Forza. And given the Suzuki Forza's price tag, it's not your shirt.
Greb Kodiak. Built to take abuse. Waterproof, comfortable, warm, and tough. There are cheaper lookalikes, but Greb Kodiak set the ground rules for quality footwear. That's why, after 75 years, Greb Originals are still the best-selling work boot in Canada. Greb Kodiak. You simply can't buy better.
It's easy to tell a guy who owns a Black & Decker workmate from the guy who doesn't. The guy who doesn't tends to be determined, resourceful, inventive, a master of improvisation. On the other hand, the guy who owns a Black & Decker workmate is none of these. He's just plain smart. Workmate and workmate accessories from Black & Decker.
A snowblower without track drive is simply laughable. Sonoma Canadiana builds snowblowers with the traction of track drive and the bite of a serrated blade. Noma Canadiana. Innovation outdoors.
The CFL on CBC. It's a whole new ball game.
We're going to take both the West, or Sam and Will, to tight end. Okay? Okay, now. Deep for Brian Kelly. He's at the record book.
CBC Sports presents Inside the CFL.
We're at the half of the Western Final with the Eskimos in front of the BC Lions, 21-7. But let's turn our attention east for a few moments. Try and do a halftime show sometime in the middle of a paper airplane contest and see how tough it is. As I was saying, let's turn our attention east. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have been virtually unbeatable at home over the last 3 years, but not so today when it mattered the most in the Eastern Final. The Argos claimed a 19-3 victory over the Bombers. Argos led 12-3 in the fourth quarter. The play that secured victory for the Argos was this one. The much-feared turnover. Darryl Sampson fumbled. The recovery was made by the core of the Argo defense, Doug Landry. The Argo defense lived up to its reputation today. And that set it up for a short yardage touchdown by the Argos' Tony Johns, and the Argos went on to a 19-3 win. So the Toronto Argonauts are making plans now to travel to Vancouver next week to play either the Eskimos or Lions in the Grey Cup. It's a joyous Argo locker room, and let's go there now and join John Evans.
Thanks very much, Scott. The Argonauts are indeed off to the Grey Cup. Standing by, Bob Obilovich, the Argonaut head coach. Bob, did you dream you'd hold the Bombers' offense to 3 points?
I really didn't think that we could keep them to that few points. I thought we could keep them under 20 and that our offense would have to score at least 3 touchdowns and that would be good enough to win. But our defense has got so much character and so much emotion, and with all the things they were talking about before the game and all that crap, I was glad to see our players do their talking on the field.
Your team appeared quietly confident about this game.
Well, we felt we could win the football game if we went out and played well. You know, we've got some pretty good young players on this team. It's by far the most talented team I've had since I've been in Toronto overall. We're missing a couple guys compared to our 83 Grey Cup team. You know, we don't have a Terry Greer who caught 2,000 yards and 113 catches in a season. We don't have that guy in our team, but we got a lot of other players that make up for that guy, and it's a fun bunch to coach because they play the game the way it should be played, and they really want to win together.
Congratulations. Good luck next week.
Thanks a lot. We'll be there.
Okay. Gilbert Renfro, come on in here for a second. Congratulations on the victory today.
Thank you very much.
Those short passes were murder on the Bombers' defense. Tell me about that game plan.
I think it was a matter of controlling the football in the third quarter against the win, and we were using that. I think the coaches did a terrific job of calling plays that we were able to execute against the win, where the win wasn't a big factor for us.
You got good protection. Your offensive line did a job for you today.
They did a terrific job, and they had to be commended on a terrific job they did, and I think that any quarterback could have success behind an offensive line like that.
You haven't played a lot this year. Did you feel comfortable out there? You had the game plan under control?
Definitely. I felt really in control as far as the game plan and the flow of the game and the tempo. I think that we control the football. We control the tempo of the game, so to speak. Their offense didn't do anything too much. I think I really felt good out there today.
Congratulations. Good luck next week.
Thank you very much.
Okay. That's a word from the Argonaut dressing room, Scott. Back to you in Vancouver.
All right, John, thank you very much. And the Argos will arrive in Vancouver midweek. They no doubt have turned their attention now to this Western Final. In about 90 minutes, they'll know who they'll play next week in the 75th Grey Cup game. Inside the CFL returns on your Grey Cup network, coast to coast.
In a car accident. Now he is sports consultant for the War Amps Child Amputee Program. The War Amps provide sports limbs and myoelectric arms for children like the ones Joshua Black wears. He was born missing his hands and feet.
Hello, Josh. You ready to go skiing?
Yes. Through the Play Safe program, children are warned about dangers in their play environment. Safety is no accident, so play safe. This message is brought to you by the War Amps and the Canadian Football League.
Harry's just like you and me. He got to do something that he's always wanted to do. Harry got to go for a ride in one of the Olympic facilities that we've built for our future generations. The Government of Canada, a proud Olympic partner.
The stars are gonna twinkle and shine. How they'll shine this evening about 8:45. My loving arms.
They say time is what you make it. At Citizen, we prefer making it beautiful.
Around you, around 8:45.
Citizen.
Priority Post, Canada's largest and most competitive courier network, has joined forces with EMS, the world's most extensive courier network. The U.S., Europe, and beyond. It's all the same network. It's all the same consistent, proven reliability. Whether you ship inside Canada or out, Priority Post, EMS, Canada's world-class courier.
Of the Western Final with the Eskimos in front by a couple of converted touchdowns. The CFL has all sorts of heroes. They have earned that respect on the playing field. We'd like you to meet a hero who's never played a down of football. In fact, you will not find his name in the sports section of the papers, but rather in the funnies. Chris Cuthbert has this feature report for Inside the CFL.
Taken by Henry Williams. Many Eskimos have had starring roles this year, including
including punt return sensation Henry the Gizmo Williams. But the newest star who Edmonton football fans are flipping over is a comic strip hero named Bub Slug. Gary Delaney and Jerry Rasmussen created Bub Slug. They're longtime CFL fans who believe Bub is just the man the league needs.
Darn it, this is a heck of a game, and it's a great product, and it'd be a terrible loss to see that it's gone. And so reacting to that, you go, well, gee, what can we do? Well, you know, hey, we've got a character. Let's put him into the CFL. Let's see if we can make people interested in going back to the games by giving them some indication of what they might be missing if the league was to fold.
In the comic strip, Bub is discovered by Frank Morris, the Eskimos' director of player personnel, who also discovered Bub's popularity.
In my grandchildren's eyes, I have a complete new respect. I'm a hero. They took the comics. I hadn't seen them, quite honestly. They brought them over to the house, and they'd taken the comics to school and were telling this is my grandfather.
But Eskimo General Manager Hugh Campbell might not be as excited to be in the comics.
I like to think of him as somebody who's a cross between a football manager and a stew bum that they just kick off of a boxcar. He's got that look to him, and so it was that hayseed look that I really enjoyed drawing.
In Pigskin to Glory, Bub goes to Commonwealth Stadium to watch his beloved Eskimos. When a ball is kicked into the stands, Bub throws it back, and a star is born. Soon he's an Eskimo, just in time for a showdown with the NFL's Chicago Bears. Will Bub lead the Eskimos to victory? Will he uphold the glory of the CFL? Eskimo fans anxiously await. Chris Cuthbert reporting for Inside the CFL.